We can speak to Phil Barry. He's a fire safety consultant. He joins us now from Moreton in Marsh in Gloucestershire. Phil Barry, good to speak to you here on TRT World. Now, from what you've been able to see of these pictures of the fire, do we have any sense of how this fire may have started?
Yeah, obviously, it's all speculation at this time, but looking at the speed of spread up the building, in my opinion, it's clearly spread up the outside surface, most probably by linings, flammable linings.
Yes, there was some concern, Phil, as you mentioned, of the cladding. Now, I'm sure you've been following the news this morning. There was some renovation done to this building a couple of years ago, and new cladding was put outside. And a lot of the reporting that I'm seeing on social media says that that went up like a tinder. I mean, so from your viewing of it, what else can you sort of judge from the fire, from what you've been able to see? Start on the lower floor, then spread very quickly.
It's right, the speed with which it spreads, and when you look at the videos of it, you can clearly see molten droplets coming down. It's clearly plastics that are burning. It's common practice around the world, as you know, we've had problems in Dubai, but it's not just in Dubai, it's around the world, of these claddings they put on buildings. And the requirements are that on tall buildings, they don't allow flames to spread across them. Unfortunately, clearly, it appears in this case that the panels did allow fire to spread up. And in this case, unlike in Dubai, it spread into the building, presumably because they had no sprinklers. Yeah,
well, I was just going to bring that up, Phil. I was speaking to a chap from Los Angeles just earlier, an American former fire marshal, talking about how these buildings, no matter their age, are often retrofitted in the States to put sprinkler systems in. And I was saying, anecdotally, being from the London area, I can't remember there being sprinkler systems in these kind of 1970s council blocks, ex-council blocks. Can you?
No, that's right. Our building regulations, unfortunately, don't require them. They do now in buildings over 30 metres high, but there are thousands and thousands of blocks of flats across the UK that have not got sprinklers. It's not a requirement of building regulations. To retrofit them is expensive, but as was pointed out by an interview earlier on, you know, sprinklers may have prevented the fire spreading in, but they can't stop the fire on the outside. They only actuate when the fire gets into the building. I think in Dubai, what's happened, the reason there hasn't been any fatalities there is because when the fire has broken in through the windows, the sprinklers have managed to control it. But obviously in this building, if there are no sprinklers, once it breaks in, there's no chance of controlling it.
I mean, of course, that will be a part of the investigation into the cause of this, and perhaps there will be calls now to put those kind of fire safety measures in. What about having sort of safe areas in the building? Again, my guest from the United States was talking about how in the States they have sort of the stairwells are fireproof, so firefighters can get up the building if necessary.
So under our building codes, it's exactly the same. There's clearly been a fault with this building. Our buildings, residential flats, are designed on what they call a defend-in-place strategy. So if there's a fire in a flat, only the person who's in that flat needs to evacuate. Other people should be safe. The fire should be contained within the flat. We have what they call compartment walls and compartment floors rated at 60 minutes. So the fire shouldn't spread out. And we do have protected staircases. That building would have had a protected staircase. But clearly, because of the size of the fire, that staircase was compromised, it appears, that people may have been able to use it.
I mean, if it started in a flat perhaps near that cladding on the outside, and we're not certain, of course, at this stage, but you think that cladding would have been the thing that would have caused it to spread so rapidly?
Yeah, in my opinion, looking at how quickly that fire spread. Fires do spread through flats when there are defects in the construction, but the speed that went through the building, in my opinion, that wasn't through internal floors, that was, you know, through flammable linings on the outside.
And you mentioned, of course, Phil, as I well know, but our international viewers may not, there are thousands of these kind of tower blocks across London. Just looking back, the last time that we had a fire of anywhere near this size was in Camberwell a few years ago. I actually covered it at the time, and there were lots of calls then to bring in some safety considerations. Do you think perhaps some of those messages and lessons from the Camberwell fire haven't actually been passed on and learned?
Well, there's not much you can do to these buildings. That's the problem. It's what you actually do once the building's got the cladding on. The other thing is that when these buildings are being assessed, our assessors looking at the outside. When the work is done under our building regulations, they have to submit plans, and there's a requirement to use, you know, approved materials. But clearly in this one, you know, somebody hasn't, it appears that the wrong materials have been used. But I've heard calls again on the news today and following the Lakenhall House fire. People were saying there were no fire alarms. We don't have fire alarms in the common parts of blocks of flats because we don't want to evacuate everybody. We shouldn't have to evacuate everybody. Everybody should be safe to stay in their flat. Unfortunately, in this building, they clearly weren't.
Absolutely. OK, Phil Barry, Fire Safety Consultant, thanks very much for joining us.